Hey everyone, I'm Allie Buchman with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to be playing today with some of our 3-holed beads. So these beads here are the Emma bead. They look almost like a slice of cheese or a slice of pizza. They are a triangle bead with 3 holes in them, evenly spaced. And I'm also working with our new Potomac Bead Company RounTrio bead. So it is a 6mm bead that has 3 holes to it. 1, 2, 3 straight across. So we're playing up the whole 3 to 3. Instead of using the Emma bead for my video, I switched to use the Trinity bead, and this is a 6mm Trinity bead, and we're going to be working with this one instead of the Emma bead. I also have my round duos in my jet color, or I'm sorry, round trios in my jet color. So they have 3 holes and they're a little bit bigger than the round duo. I'm using 2 colors of 11-0s to kind of play off the 3 holes. I am using the matte bronze 11-0, and then I'm using the galvanized pink 11-0. I'm also going to end it here with one of our new Potomac Bead Company crystal buttons, and this is a crystal button in the magic wine color. I have a size 10 English beading needle, the Pony brand, as well as some .006 green wildfire beading thread. Right near me I have a thread zap 2. I have my slip and snip cutters, and I have some super new glue that I'm going to be using. I'm working on a bead mat, and I'm going to play up kind of the peaks and the ridges of this Trinity bead as I'm working with it here with this RounTrio bead. So to get started here, I have about 5 feet of thread, and I have 1 needle on my thread. I'm going to create a stop bead. And what that is a bead that is not going to be part of my project that I'm going to use to stop my beads from falling off my thread. I'm sewing back through the stop bead away from the tail. Oops, I lost her there. So back through the stop bead away from the tail 2 times, creating a loop there on the side that's going to hold in place. Once I have my stop bead in place, I'm going to get ready to actually start working on my project. So I'm going to do the same formation that I did here on my Emma RounTrio, but I'm going to kind of jazz it up a little bit. I'm going to be working down one side, picking up my Trinity as well as the outer hole of my round duo, but I'm also at the same time going to be decorating the sides of those beads. On the sides here, I'm going to be using my matte bronze color, and when I'm coming out of my RounTrio bead, I'm actually going to be using some of my pink color. So to start out, I have my stop bead on, and what I'm going to be doing is using 4 of my bronze beads after putting on my Trinity bead. So I have a Trinity bead. It doesn't matter which hole you put them through right now because they're all the same. So I'm going to put on my Trinity bead and then 4 of my 11-0 seed beads. I'm going to let that all fall down right next to my stop bead. What I'm going to do next is pick up one of my RounTrio beads, and you want to make sure when you're going through the RounTrio bead that you're going through one of the outer holes. Again, there are 3 holes that line up right at the start, right there. I'm going to be using one of the outer holes. Doesn't matter right or left. You just want to make sure you're not going through the middle hole. When I'm on the outer hole there, what I'm going to do is decorate the sides of my round duo bead, and again I'm using this galvanized pink color. I'm going to go and add 5 beads on to my needle, and I'm circling around so that way my thread and my beads are going to be on the outside of my RounTrio bead. You want to make sure that you're going through the same hole of the RounTrio, pulling everything through, and again that's just going to decorate up the side a little bit there. I'm going to do 4 more beads, and I'm going to put on my next Trinity. When I'm on the sides of the Trinity, I'm going to decorate these a little bit as well. I'm going to decorate these with the bronze color and just kind of play up the bronze on the side. The Trinity bead is not as wide as the round duo, where I used 5 on the side of the round duo, I'm only going to be using 4 on the sides of my Trinity. I have my Trinity on and 4 more of my matte bronze seed bead, and then I'm sewing back up through my Trinity, creating that little 4 bead picot trim. You want to make sure when you're doing this also to kind of pull your project down, making sure there's not any extra room there on the sides. I'm going to continue with the same pattern, adding 4 beads, always in between. Then I'm going to add my round trio through an outer hole, add 5 of my pink seed beads, let all of that drop down next to my project, and then I'm going to take my thread and needle and go back around the round trio bead so that way it's decorative on the side, doing that little trim. Once I have that little trim in place, I'm going to give a nice tight pull. Continuing on with my project, I have 4 of my bronze that I'm going to put on. I'm going to put on another Trinity and then 4 more beads. Once I have that on, let that drop down next to your project. And I'm going to take my needle and thread in a circle back through that Trinity bead, forcing those 4 seed beads to sit on the side of the Trinity. Again, give a tight pull to tighten up the thread. I'm going to continue this pattern the whole length of my bracelet here. If you wanted to, you could also do this as a necklace. It would look fun. So I'm going to continue doing this the whole length of the project, just going down that one hole of the Trinity, as well as the outer hole of the round duo bead. I'm sorry, round trio bead. So I finished with my length. Because it is a bracelet that does peak up in the middle, it is going to shrink a little bit. So I made this bracelet so that when I pulled it on my wrist, the ends almost touch. That way when it does shrink up after adding my button, I'll have a little bit of play on the bracelet. So I've gone the whole length of the bracelet, adding my Trinity beads in that Jade Picasso color, as well as the round duos. Again, the Trinity beads, I did put more of the matte bronze on the side, and then I put the galvanized pink on the round trio beads. When I'm coming out the end here, I'm going to get ready to add my Potomac crystal button. So I'm going to go in with my bronze here, and I'm going to add 4 beads just like we've been doing. 4 is kind of the magic number of bronze. Once those are added, I'm going to go up the back of my crystal button. When I'm coming out the top of it, I'm actually going to play with the Trinity bead. So I'm going to put a Trinity bead in as well. Because the Trinity has 3 holes and our button has 4, we're just going to kind of skip over the 1. I'm going to go back into the Trinity bead, and I'm going to go to the hole that is across from the hole that I'm coming out of. I'm going to pull down the thread and pull that close to the project. When you're looking at it then, it's going to be coming out opposite on the diagonal of where the thread is going in. What I'm going to do now is go through and do the other side of my Trinity bead. So when I'm working, I'm going to be skipping the middle of the round trio bead as well as the top of the Trinity bead. So here's where it's important that you're going to actually be going through the side hole again of the round trio as well as through the bottom of our Trinity bead. So I'm going to put 4 beads on, and then I'm going to sew through the bottom of the Trinity. That's going to leave a hole at the top for us to come back and add our pink into. When I'm on the side, I'm going to repeat the pattern that I have been doing all the way up, where I'm going to take my 4 beads and add them on the side of my Trinity. And then as I go through the last hole of the round trio bead, I'm going to add those as well. So I'm going to be adding 5 of those, and I'm going to be adding 4 of the matte. So I go through and I add 4, letting that drop, going back through that Trinity bead in that circle. Then I'm going to add 4 more. You want to make sure that those beads stay to the side and that your top hole of your Trinity bead stays open. I add 4 more of my matte bronze. Sew through the outer hole of the round trio, because you do want to skip the middle because we're going to be coming back and grabbing onto that on our next way back. Add my 5 pink. And back through that outer hole of the round trio. So I'm going to continue basically repeating the pattern, but just linking onto the beads that are already here, making sure you're going through the bottom of the Trinity as well as the other side of the round duo bead. So it's going to look like a point and then the round trio bead that is decorated here by the 5 pink beads. So I've come down to the bottom, adding my beads here. You can see these kind of float up a little bit. That's okay. We're going to come back and solve that, coming down the side and kind of connecting it. What I'm going to do right now is create my area to make my loop. So the loop is going to come out the bottom just like it did here on the button side. So I'm going to create a loop with my beads, and I'm going to use my matte bronze here. I'm going to put 11 O's on my needle coming out of the Trinity bead. Oops, my fault here. I forgot to decorate this side. So you do your 4 matte beads, go back through the Trinity just as we've been doing. Sorry about that. Once you have that last one decorated there, you're going to add your beads now for your loop for your clasp. Once I have the beads added, I'm going to go through the other hole of the Trinity bead at the bottom. And then we'll get ready to add our middle row of our bracelet. Okay. So my loop is made. You always want to make sure that your loop is big enough for your button to fit through. You want to keep in mind, if you are adding a Trinity bead to the top of the button, that you need it to be a little bit bigger than normal because it does need to accommodate that extra little bump there at the top. So now that I have my beads on, I'm going to skip my stop bead that's there. I'm going to sew through that bottom hole of the Trinity on the other side next to the stop bead, coming out right after the Trinity, and I'm going to decorate this side as well. So you're going to have the loop coming out the bottom of that Trinity there. I'm going to add 4 beads on to create my side, and sew back through that bottom hole of the Trinity. That gets my complete bottom done. I have all of the peaks here ready to go. And what I'm going to do now is decorate the middle hole of the Trinity, and that's going to create those pinks of this Holey Trinity. And this Holey Trinity bracelet is going to have pink in the middle. To get back up to the middle, what I'm going to do is, after coming out of the Trinity bead, I'm going to sew back through those 4 beads that are on the side here that made the loop. And then I'm going to skip from that bottom hole there to my top hole. When I'm skipping, I want to come out my bead here, give a tight pull, and while I'm down on this end, I'm going to take my stop bead off, and I'm going to tie these 2 pieces together, both my ending thread as well as my thread that's on my needle. Now you don't need to have a stop bead on anymore. Generally speaking, when I do the stop bead, I want to do it in a bead that I'm not using in my project. That way I don't get confused and think that it's another bead. I'm gonna cut down that knotted thread, and I'll glue at the end when I make sure that I don't have to go back through any of those beads. Now that I have that tied off, now what I'm gonna do is actually skip to the top. To skip to the top of my bead here, and have my loop then ready, I'm gonna add 2 of my pink beads and then sew through the top hole of the Trinity. Oops. Once I'm through the top hole of the Trinity, I'm gonna continue the pattern that I've been doing with 4 beads in between each. And what I'm gonna do is add my 4 beads, and I'm gonna sew from the top hole of the Trinity that is open on all of them through the middle hole of the RounTrio bead. And this is just going to decorate the whole middle of the project. Again, 4 beads go on. I'm going to go to the top of the Trinity and give a tight little pull there. And I'm going to continue creating these peaks with my pink beads the whole way down along the line of my project, adding 4 beads and picking up all of the empty holes. And I'm continuing to sew down towards my button. So you're just going to continue with 4s, sewing through the top of the Trinities straight down to the end. So I've gone down my whole center line there, adding those galvanized beads, and I'm at the last Trinity, coming through the middle holes of the RounTrio beads. And to complete this Holey Trinity, I'm going to go up through that last bead. When I'm on the side there of my Trinity bead, I'm going to add 4 of my 11 OC beads. This is just like I did on the other side of the button. I'm going to go through the button and through the Trinity. This is going to reinforce the clasp. I'm sewing that button on there. When I'm coming out the top of the button here, what I'm going to do is sew down through the other Trinity hole and down through my button as well. And this is going to pick up the 4th hole. So through this Trinity here, 1 thread is going to one side, 1 thread is going to the other side hole. When I'm out the end here, I'm going to add 4 more beads. And I'm going to join through the bottom hole of one of the Trinity beads. It doesn't matter if it's the right or the left. And that's going to attach my button then to my bracelet here, which will then fit through the loop on the other side. Once I have this on, I'm going to go ahead and decorate the sides. If you want to, you could leave it just as this. Because of the nature of it and the nature of the Trinity bead, the beads that are on the side here kind of want to pop up. I'm going to be pinning them down to the sides by running beads along the outer edge of my bracelet in order to hold those beads down in place. When I'm coming out the Trinity, what I want to do to add to the side is sew back up through the first of the 11 O's that are on the side, that fringe of the Trinity. I'm going to be coming out of 1 of my pink beads and then sewing through 2 of the matte beads. To create my pattern, I'm going to have 2 pink and 3 matte on my needle. Sew through that top hole of the 11 O's that are on the sides of the RounTrios, and that's going to decorate that up. When I'm coming out the other side, I'm going to do 3 of the bronze, 2 of the pink. Sew through 2 beads on that next Trinity side. And that's going to create my baseline that's going to link all of this together. So I'm going to continue going down this one side, having 2 pinks on the sides of the bronze of the Trinity, and then adding 3 bronze, which are going to go through that top hole of the set of 5 on the sides of the RounTrio beads. I'm going to continue down this line, adding those beads in place and creating a bottom row, a side row for each of these sides to rest on. So sometimes as I'm creating, I kind of change the design idea when I'm working with it. I have some 11/0 matte patina iris beads, which are that pretty green color that almost matches those green Picasso, a jade Picasso Trinity bead. I'm actually going to take these back out and pull it out, and I'm going to use these green ones here on the sides in order to connect. I think that's really going to pull that green color in and create that pattern. Whenever you want to change colors or change the needle, you can attempt to sew back through your project. Sometimes it'll work and sometimes your thread gets twisted. If your thread gets twisted, you immediately want to take your needle off and try to pull the thread through that way. If you continue to sew back through, you can really kind of create damage by twisting and sewing back through and making a big mess. So I'm going to switch my pattern a little bit because I think it's creating too much of that brown and pink. I really do like that color of almost that corally pink along with the turquoise green, that green jade Picasso. So I want to use that and play on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 of my pink, and remember we were adding 5 beads on the sides. So I'm going to add 1 pink, and then I'm going to add 4 of my patina iris, but continue on with that same pattern. And I think that's going to decorate and bring in that Trinity color a little bit better. So I'm going to do 4 of my iris, 1 of the pink, sew back through 2 along the sides. And I like that color creation a little bit better. It kind of pulls it all together. But continue going the whole way down. We're going to reinforce the clasp and go back up the other way. So I'm finished now the one side and going down and adding those 5 seed beads in. I have a little bit of buckling, but that's okay because I still have the other side to do, which in turn will pull the RounTrio as well as the Trinity up and get really that raised idea that I wanted, just like the Emma bead here. When I'm at the end, I'm coming out my last 2 of my matte bronze. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically skip over to the other side by going through 11/0s, and I'm going up the 2 pink beads that I added. I'm going to add 2 more pink beads so that way it looks even on the side. And I'm going to go down and come out the 2 beads in the middle on the other side of the Trinity. When I do this, then I'm going to give a nice tight pull, and I'm going to come down the other side then adding those beads just like I did previously with my pink and my green getting added, and then sewing through either the 1 pink or the 2 in my matte bronze. When I add these, you'll be able to quickly see that it's going to take that curvature and pull the beads up and have a little bit of a raised effect, which is what I want. So that way this Holey Trinity, you can really see the 3 holes that are being used. Again, continue down the sides, giving a tight pull after each one, forcing those Trinity beads to sit up and the round duos to pop up a tiny bit. I'm going to continue that the whole way down till the end near my button, and then we'll create the last little closure there of the button and my bracelet will be completed. So here I've gone down the other side here, and you can see it makes those Trinity beads and the round duo or the RounTrio beads sit up in place, which when you put it on your wrist has a really cute look and a cute design. I'm really happy that I switched to those green matte metallic patina iris 11 O's, because I do think they really make that eye of the RounTrio pop, as well as really help the Trinity bead stick out. Kind of gets its name then, that Holey Trinity, from all the different holes in the Trinity beads. When I come to the end here and I'm coming out my last of my 11 O's in the bronze color, I'm actually going to continue through the last one, and then I'm going to go up and reinforce my clasp by going through the beads that are closest to those 4, which are going to be right here on the side of the base of that Trinity bead. I'm going to go up the button and out one of the holes. When I come out one of the holes, I also want to come out, if possible, through my Trinity bead. You might have to separate that out. I'm going to go through that hole, kind of bend inside there, and come out the Trinity as well. If you need to, you can kind of turn to the side and force that needle up through that Trinity bead. Once I have it through the one hole of the Trinity, what I'm doing actually is going to make this have a complete look, that I have the threads going on 1 to 2 loops, 2 to 3, and now I'm going to go back from 3 to 1 and down my button hole on the other side. The same time going through down through the button, I'm also going to pick up the 4 11 O's, and then I'm just going to tie off my project. To do that, I'm going to pick up some of the threads that are underneath. Some people will call them the bridge threads, some people will call them warp threads. Usually warp threads are referred to on a loom, but I'm going to sew underneath the threads, creating a loop. Sew back through that loop and pull tight. And that's going to get my first knot. I'm going to sew further into my project and do the same thing. When I'm here on the side, I'm going to pick up that 11 O to bring it back a little bit more to center. Pick up some of the bridge thread there. Make my knot and knot over my project. Sew a little bit further and do the same thing. So you can see I'm just reinforcing that knot. Once I have 3 or 4 of these little loops there, what I'm going to do is tie or glue off the ends. So I'm going to pick up my super new glue, go back here to the beginning, do a little dab of glue right there where that knot is, come over here, do a dab of glue at the end where that knot is, kind of blow it into place. And then I'm also going to glue back where I did the first knot of that series. I'm going to let that dry a tiny little bit, put the lid back on my glue, cut off my thread on both sides. Once I have that cut, I'll pick up my thread burner and singe down the edges. And once I do that then and let it dry a little bit, I will have the actual completed project. Again, it does have some curvature to it. That's why I had you do it a little bit longer than when you were working on it. The more you pull and the tighter you pull when you're starting your project, the more that will actually sit up, and this Holey Trinity will have more of a dome to it. It does have that dome effect from the back as well as the front. When you put it on, it's going to sit with that dome to the back, so it's obviously going to sit up. This is the first time I've actually used the faceted crystal buttons, so I'm excited to use those. And I really do like the color choices that I made. I like how it sits up a little bit and how you really get to play on those 3 holes of the RounTrios as well as the 3 holes of the Trinity beads. So it's fun to play around with all of these new beads that are being created, all the different size beads with their multiple holes and the different effects, as well as the new faceted crystal button. So hopefully you guys get some ideas. You can see how easily it started out with just the idea of the RounTrio bead and the Emma bead. You could easily do this with the Emma as well, and you'd have the same effect, just a little bit sharper look on the peaks. So rather than being the Trinity bead, it would be the Holy Emma instead of the Holy Trinity. But you can do that design as well. If you like these designs, you like the videos, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get videos like this, as well as other designs, product information, and just updates in general. You can also visit us at PotomacBeads.com, where we're happy to have you click on the class links or the locations links, find a Potomac bead company near you, and grab some of these great products. If you can't get to a store near you, you can either shop online from the Show More under the description here, and it'll give you links to the different products like the Trinities and the RounTrio beads, and also the faceted crystal buttons. If you can't get to one of our stores, you can buy online, and we're happy to ship to you. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and enjoy playing with these awesome new Trinity and the RounTrio beads.